Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Red Dragon Archfiend Yugioh deck profile for November 2020. This is actually one of the decks that I try to keep up to date for a good while, for the fact that it's one of the decks I play a lot with friends, playtesting it, and just all the fun playstyles of all the many different Red Dragon Archfiend monsters we have. And my last update to the deck was, post Eternity Code, so it has been a few sets since my last update. So I felt an update was due, just to show you all what has changed with the deck. Not too much has changed, but like I said, a few tech preferences, plus with the couple ban lists we've had, some cards have either, been limited or, just, preferences that from my last video have been taken out of the deck as a whole. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the tuner monsters, which are a very important part of the deck, because with some of the Red Dragon Archfiend synchros, you need to use 2 tuners, we run the Resonator lineup. So we're running 3 Crimson Resonator. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If the only other monster you control is exactly 1 Dark Dragon synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except for a Crimson Resonator. You can only use each effect of Crimson Resonator once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except for Dark Dragon Synchro monsters the turn you activate either of these cards' effects. So it's a great setup card for going into a good amount of your different boss monsters in the deck, including your main go-to one being Red Nova Dragon, but you have plenty of other power options in the deck as well, including Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity for all of these synchro plays, which require 2 tuners to summon these cards out. With this setup for Crimson Resonator, it makes it that much easier for your plays, being an easy special summon, but also being able to gather any of the needed levels for the Resonator monsters you run in the deck. I also run 3 Red Resonator. Once again, an easy synchro setup for your Red Rising Dragon, which just immediately sets up for the play of going into your Red Dragon Archfiend. With your Red Resonator, when this card's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand. And when this card is special summoned, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and gain life points equal to its attack. So you can gain life points, which will definitely help protect you, because the basis of the deck is just to have one of your Red Dragon Archfiend monsters out on the field to protect you. So basically, with your Red Resonator, gaining all that life points makes it that much easier for you to protect yourself when, if your opponent takes out the Red Dragon Archfiend, they'll have to deal pretty heavy damage against you. And then just being an easy special summon of another card to set up your go-to synchro monster, Red Rising Dragon, like I said before also. And for some of the lower numbers for the Resonator monsters, I run 2 Synchron Resonator. If a Synchro monster or on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Synchron Resonator once per turn this way. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 Resonator monster in your graveyard except for Synchron Resonator and add to your hand. So being able to recycle cards like Crimson Resonator and Red Resonator after you used your Synchron Resonator for the synchro summon of one of your bigger Red Dragon Archfiend monsters makes it all the better for sure, because with the level adjustment, your go-to Resonator that you want to summon with Synchron Resonator is your Creation Resonator. If you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So if you have, let's say, your Red Dragon Archfiend on the field and you have your Synchron Resonator, you can special summon your Creation Resonator on the field with a level 8 Red Dragon Archfiend, then the level 1 Synchron Resonator, and the level 3 Creation Resonator. That adds up to the level 12 option to go into either one of your Red Dragon Archfiend boss monsters, using these cards and setting up plenty of tuners in your graveyard as well for your powered up boost to your Red Nova Dragon on the field once you summon this card out. And then lastly, for the Resonators, I run 1 Chain Resonator. When this card's normal summon, while a synchro monster is on the field, you can special summon 1 Resonator monster from your deck, except for Chain Resonator. So same option with Synchron Resonator, just that much easier, because you'll be summoning Creation Resonator from the deck onto the field, having the same level requirements that we spoke of before. If not, the other added options would be, Crimson Resonator with Red Resonator, adding up to 4 again. They all work very, very well together, adjusting the levels, so you have the level 4 total for your tuners and your level 8 Red Dragon Archfiend. And I also like to run 2 Red Nova. This card was reprinted in the Dragons of Legend, making it that much easier for people to acquire as well for their decks. It is a tuner monster, fairy type. If a level 8 or higher Dragon Synchro is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Red Nova once per turn this way. If this card is sent to the graveyard for a Synchro summon that uses 2 or more tuner monsters as material, you can special summon 1 Fire Fiend monster from your deck in defense position. So we have plenty of Fire Fiend type monsters in the deck in the form of Red Sprinter and Red Warg. So being able to use Red Nova for just more setup for other Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, since we're also not limited to the extra monster zone for these plays. So we can summon out 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend or Red Dragon Archfiend or Hot Red Dragon Archfiend onto the field, and then just have the option to special summon more Fire Fiend type monsters on the field and set up more Red Dragon Archfiends to summon out. We're not limited to the play anymore because we don't have to rely on link monsters in this deck, which is what I don't like to use. I wanted to go full synchro with the entire extra deck for this play, since we don't have to rely on the extra monster zone anymore. And then for the non-tuner monsters, I run 3 Red Sprinter. When this card is normal or special summon while you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Fiend type tuner monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Red Sprinter once per turn. So whichever way you decide to use the play, you can go with Red Resonator and then summon out Red Sprinter, or the opposite, special summoning your Red Resonator to the field, activating the special summon effect to gain life points equal to Red Sprinter if this is your first play to go to. And being a level 6 Synchro monster to go into, you can summon your Red Rising Dragon, which will be your go-to play to summon out your bigger Red Dragon Archfiend monster using just these 2 cards. So Red Sprinter is great for that consistency, just giving you more and more special summons of your Fiend type monsters, and from the fact that it's hand or graveyard means you can use late game resources, just being able to open up 1 Red Sprinter and then go for the Synchro summon right then and there. And I also run 4 Wandering King Wildwind. With this one, if you control a Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you attempt this, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except for Synchro monsters, which is fine because that's all we run in this version of the deck. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So not only that, you have plenty of search options aside from Red Nova to go for a good number of all the other resonators we run in the deck, all fitting the bill of being lower than 1500 attack for the search, and then just more consistency for those tuners being an extra special summon of this card onto the field. Still being able to go for plenty of the plays, even if you just have the level 2 tuner on the field, and going for that summon of your Red Rising Dragon, since it's not limited to what you need to use for its Synchro summon. And I also run 2 Red Warg. With this one, when you normal summon a Resonator monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but its attack becomes halved. So its attack doesn't really matter. It's just if you summon your Crimson Resonator or your Red Resonator, you can easily special summon Red Warg onto the field and then have your level 8 Synchro right then and there. The attack is halved, but no one really cares about that because you're going to be summoning out your Red Dragon Archfiend. I only run the 2 though. You need to have that proper Resonator on the field to summon this card out. So you need the level 2 option, which it's very easy to search out, but you need that play, and that's why I prefer the Red Sprinter play, because that just adds for the consistency of the special summon. But I still like running those 2 Red Wargs to always have the easier, go into straight Red Dragon Archfiend play as well, and not have to rely on Red Rising Dragon if I don't have to. And I also run 2 Red Familiar. With this one, you contribute 1 Fiend monster, then target 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, and it has its effects negated. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster you control, and declare a level from 1 to 8, and it becomes that level until the end of the next turn. And you can only use each effect of Red Familiar once per turn. So this is just more setup. If you have your Red Dragon Archfiend monster, let's say you just don't have the tuners until a few turns later to go into your bigger Red Nova Dragon, Tyrant play, you name it, Red Familiar can set up the Red Dragon Archfiend that might have been destroyed back onto the field for you to use for your monsters. And for more of the generic monsters in the deck that I use, I run 2 Primitive Butterfly, just another easy special summon, and the fact that you can adjust levels on the field of your insect monsters being your Primitive Butterfly to level 6 means you can use this card just as easily like Red Warg for the Synchro summon of your Red Dragon Archfiend monster. But also the fact that it's a level 5, if you have the level 1 monster in your hand, special summoning it, something this means you can get out your Red Rising Dragon and have the option for both the level 6 and the level 8 Synchros using this card. And lastly, I run the 2 Perform Mage Hat Tricker. It's just an easy special summon if, 2 or more monsters are on the field, which most of the time they are, giving you just another resource on the field to use and go into as well. And that is it for the monsters. We run a pretty high monster count, but they all run very, very well together because you need that high monster count for the monster consistency with all the spells, just relying on more and more search power. So we run 3 Resonator Command, a quick play spell. You discard a Resonator monster to add 1 level 4 lower fiend type monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Resonator Command per turn, but being able to discard your play, so you can either discard Crimson Resonator or your Red Resonator, searching out your Red Sprinter, summoning Red Sprinter, special summoning 1 of the 2 you discarded, and then having your synchro play right then and there. It's a quick play spell also, so just for resources and, maybe to bait out your opponent, you can set this card on the field, setting up the discard for the search, adding that fiend type monster, but also just having the option to search out your Wandering King Wild Wind makes for more and more search options using this card comboed with your Resonator monsters. For more searches for the Resonator monsters, I run 3 Resonator Call. You just add 1 Resonator monster from your deck to your hand. This card is not even a once per turn, so if you open up multiple Resonator Calls, you can search out your Creation Resonator, your Chain Resonator, or your Synchron Resonator, comboing whichever ones you need together, Crimson Resonator, Red Resonator, you name it, having the multiples of this, or even just opening up one of the Creation Resonator or any of the other Resonators knows and tells you basically which one you'll need to search out to have the 2 tuner combo on the field to use also. And I still like to use the 2 Pot of Desires. I know some people didn't like using this card. If you want to try Pot of Extravagance, it's a big risk gamble because you do run multiples of a good number of Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, but if you hit the ones you need to go into initially and then just have the bigger level monsters, you have no setup to go into. That's why I like to stick to Desires. We run, play sets of a good amount of cards in the deck, and even if we banish some of the cards, as long as we keep some of the other resources to use, it doesn't really hurt us as much as some of the other, draw cards could do in the deck. If you want to try some other ones, you can try running, a copy of Foolish Burial and maybe 1 Upstart Goblin. That's player preference at that point. I still prefer the Desires because you do put a lot into your synchro plays and you want to be drawing a lot back also using these cards. And lastly, just the 1 Monster Reborn, just the same special summon option like with Red Familiar. Only with this one, it doesn't negate the monster's effect, and it gives us a dragon on the field to use to summon out the bigger synchros or just to have to fight and combat our opponent with. And that is it for the spells. For the traps, I run the 1 Red Rain. It's just a good way to clear out the field, leaving your Red Dragon Archfiend monster on the field. If a Dark Synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card's in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect of Red Rain once per turn. So being able to recycle this trap is why I only run 1 of it. It's a good option to draw into. It doesn't really help, contribute to the actual summon of your Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, but just great to use against your opponent for the field clearing. And for the first time for, I think any of my deck profiles, I am running 3 Infinite Impermanents. Easier to get now thanks to the Gold series. I wanted to give it a try in the deck as well. It is a great card just to help against my opponent. If you don't have Infinite Impermanents, you can try out Ash Blossom. Being another tuner, it's an option to use against your opponent, but I like this card just to stop some of my opponent's plays with the effect negation. But once again, player preference. If you don't have this card and you don't have the Ash Blossoms to try out, you can also try cards like Call the Haunted, Back to the Front. Every one of these options give you special summon power back onto the field. I just like this. I have the setup for summoning out my Red Dragon Archfiend monsters. I just need a little more protection against my opponent as well. But once again, if you don't have this card, Ash Blossom, if you don't want to use the Ash Blossom, Call of the Haunted or Back to the Front are great options to substitute this card as well. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 1 of the original Red Dragon Archfiend. I just feel I need to run 1 of this card to make it feel like the authentic Red Dragon Archfiend deck that it is. A great way, and 3,000 attack point monster. Powerhouse against your opponent, especially destroying plenty of monsters on the field when you summon it out. But the big boss monster for sure is Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. If you didn't want to run Red Dragon Archfiend, you can always put 3 copies of this card in the deck. Having more of a power boost card, being able to destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, other than this card, and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So it doesn't matter what type of monster it is. It could even be Link monster. You're just going to destroy all those monsters and then gain the power to burn away your opponent. A true powerhouse for sure, having all the requirements of your Red Dragon Archfiend as well. So once again, just player preference depending on which one you want to run, or if you want to run any copies of Red Dragon Archfiend. Like I said, I like the 2 Scarlet and then just the 1 original. It's like running a a Stardust Dragon deck, but then running, Stardust Spark Dragon or any of the new copies and none of the original. You got to run at least one Stardust Dragon. I also run one Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. Once per turn during main phase 1, you can destroy all their face-up attack position monsters on the field. Monsters on this card cannot attack the turn you activate this. Now this one, it destroys all their face-up attack position monsters, while Scarlight, handles special summon monsters. If you are dealing against an opponent that has a normal summon monster that you need to get rid of, this is a good option to go into for that. I also run 3 Red Rising Dragon. When you go for the level 6 synchro play, Red Rising Dragon is just the easiest card to summon out, but then have the option to go into your level 8s that much easier with this card, because when it's synchro summon, you can target a Resonator in your graveyard and special summon it. You can special summon monster from your extra deck this turn, except for Dark Synchros, but going for the Resonator monster is your, synchro into your Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, just using this easy level 6 synchro. I also run 2 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. This is just more setup for your special summon. That's why I like to run 2 of this card in the deck for that setup play. Being able to rely on a Dark Dragon Synchro type monster and 1 tuner to make it a level 9 monster option. So when you have your level 1 synchro, if you need more tuner setup, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss is the card to go into. And then the same when you can make your Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane being your level 10 option with these plays, just needing 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner Dark Dragon monster. So if you go from Abyss into Bane, then Bane will have your setup to go into your bigger boss monsters. But before that, if you want even more of a level 10 power play, you have the Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, just needing 1 tuner and one of your, Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiends on the field to summon this card out. And then for our big boss monsters, I run the 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity and the 1 Red Nova Dragon, the level 12 monsters that you can make in this deck. Once again, boss monsters needing 2 tuners. This is what we spoke of all earlier in the video for your play to summon out. Once you get these out, just having the tuner boost for both of them, especially, can raise their attacks to incredible heights for sure. That can take out almost anything your opponent can try and dish out with you just using both of these cards. And the only non-Red Dragon Archfiend card we're still running in the deck is Beals, just because you need 1 Dark Tuner and 1 or more non-tuners to make it. It's that much easier to summon out, having Crimson Resonator as that easy option using our, Red Rising Dragon, just being limited to the synchro summon of a Dark Dragon Synchro, which, Beals meets all the requirements, and just a good defensive card because it can't be destroyed by battle and gains any of the attack every time it's attacked into. And as for your go-to plays, some of my favorites are still the Resonator command, discarding one of your level 2 Resonator monsters to summon out your Red Sprinter, special summoning out your Crimson Resonator, then also being able to use the effect of your Crimson Resonator to basically benefit to special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck if you control no monsters, and if the only other monster you control is 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster, special summoning this card for that effect for the setup, and then relying on Red Rising Dragon to summon it back out into the field, and then going into your level 8 synchro play. But the best part of the deck is just relying on that setup. Once you get your Red Dragon Archfiend, relying on those plays and all the other Resonator monsters you may have to summon out your big go-to boss monster, which most of the time is Red Nova Dragon for me especially. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, Kira Twig out.